Recap: Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Dao, Chapter 1053, Chapter HUD. The tale begins beneath the vast heavens of the chaotic stars' majestic empire, where the tides of fate shifted with a single imperial decree. After the audience with the Empress came to its quiet end, Ling Han stepped out from the towering gates of the imperial palace, escorted by a solemn female guard. Behind him, within those gilded halls, Empress Luanxing remained, her thoughts already drawn toward the mysterious absolute beginning stone. That ancient object, brimming with unfathomable secrets, had stirred her curiosity, and she intended to study it with utmost care. But Ling Han did not linger. With calm steps, he returned to the academy, only to be immediately swallowed by a storm of voices and laughter. Before he could even steady himself, a crowd of familiar faces surged toward him. Lin Yu, Li Weiwei, Ji Yuner, and many others surrounded him, dragging him away without ceremony. To drink. Tonight, we drink. Their excitement burned like wildfire. And how could it not? What Ling Han had accomplished, it was nothing short of a miracle whispered in awe across the academy. A man who had defeated an opponent with pseudo-Sun Moon tier battle prowess. Such a feat defied logic, shattered expectations, and overturned the very understanding of cultivation. As wine flowed and voices rose, the conversation turned. What? You've already been granted the title of a 9th-rank military general by Her Imperial Majesty? The revelation struck like thunder. Even Li Weiwei and Ji Yuner, born of noble blood, were stunned into silence. Lin Yu's eyes widened. Others nearly spilled their cups. Though they were descendants of powerful families, none of them held official ranks. In name, they stood no different from commoners, though in reality no one would dare treat them as such. Yet official rank, that was something entirely different. Within the empire, such a title was not merely honor, it was power. With rank came access to the strength of the nation itself. Cultivation could be accelerated. Battle prowess could be amplified when standing within imperial territory. More importantly, it carried with it the dignity of the empire. To insult an official was to insult the throne. Even figures like the left minister or the 7 generals, beings who commanded immense authority, could not act recklessly against Ling Han now. If they wished to move against him, they would first need the Ministry of Justice to investigate and confirm wrongdoing. Only then could they act. Otherwise, they would be defying the empire itself, and such defiance would not go unanswered. This time, Lin Yu laughed loudly, clapping Ling Han on the shoulder, no one will dare stir trouble with you anymore. His voice carried both admiration and envy. I truly envy you, he continued. To receive an official rank so quickly, do you know how many lives must be taken to earn the title of 9th-rank military general? Normally, you'd have to kill more than 10,000 enemies. Ling Han blinked, genuinely surprised. Is it really that difficult? What do you think? Li Weiwei scoffed, though her tone carried a trace of jealousy. Even my father is only 1st rank. Ling Han burst into laughter. Are you sure you're not just showing off your father? Ji Yuner added thoughtfully. Military ranks can't be inherited, otherwise they would be even more valuable. Ling Han nodded slowly. At least on the surface, this title had become a protective talisman. All officials, regardless of rank, were subjects of the Empress. None could use their authority to suppress another without cause. Even if he stood before the left minister himself, Ling Han would only need to offer the courtesy due to a superior, not kneel in submission. But beneath the surface, the world was never so simple. There were shadows that did not bow to imperial authority. The Dark Night Hall, an organization that existed beyond the reach of the 3 great majestic empires. To them, power was not law. Coin was. Pay the price, and they would send death itself. They could wait 10 years, 20, even 100. To mortals, such time was unbearable. But to immortals, whose lives spanned beyond 100,000 years, such waiting was no more than the passing of seasons. As the night deepened, wine flowed without restraint. Laughter echoed. Cups clashed. And among them all, Shui Yanyu shone with quiet joy. Ling Han now held an official rank. That alone might be enough to sway the Shui clan, to allow their union to be recognized. When at last the feast came to an end, the group dispersed beneath the dim glow of lantern light. Ling Han returned alone, and in the stillness of the night, his thoughts began to take shape. Now that he was no longer a hostage, now that he carried an official title, The chains that once bound him had been broken. He could come and go as he pleased. It was time to return to the Great Ling Empire. In his mind, plans unfolded one after another. He would bring back vast quantities of resources, enough to elevate his 3 elder brothers, to strengthen their foundations, to push their cultivation forward. But that was not enough. True strength was not forged in safety. His brothers would need to leave their homeland, to walk the world, to temper themselves through hardship and battle. Only through real combat could true elites be born, not through polite sparring within protected walls. And there was his disciple as well. As a master, he had duties yet unfulfilled. He would teach him properly. As these thoughts settled, Ling Han calculated further. Only a year had passed. Feng Po Yun and the others would not yet have reached the immortal level. Thus, the resources he prepared need not exceed that threshold. In the immortal realm, such materials were abundant, almost trivial. They would cost little. In half a month, he would depart. With the cloud-piercing shuttle at his disposal, the journey would take only a few days. Satisfied, he closed his eyes. Morning came with a pounding headache. Ling Han awoke, groaning slightly as he pressed a hand to his temple. Last night, Lin Yu, Ma Xing, and the others had shown no mercy. They had forced him to drink an entire barrel of wine. Now the consequences had arrived. Peng! 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 A loud knocking shook his door. Frowning, he stumbled forward, muttering, "Coming! Coming! Do you really need to pound so hard this early in the morning?" The door creaked open. Standing there was a beauty. Her appearance rivaled that of Li Weiwei and Ji Yun'er without the slightest inferiority. Her presence was striking, yet carried a certain bluntness. Gu Lingyu, one of the 3 great beauties of the imperial capital. Her brows were slightly furrowed. "Why did you wake up so late?" she demanded, her tone filled with reproach. "Let's go." Ling Han blinked, still half-dazed. "Go where?" Without hesitation, she grabbed his arm. "My master wants to see you." "Your master?" "N." Ling Han nearly staggered. What he meant was obvious. Who is your master? Yet Gu Lingyu seemed completely oblivious to such nuance. Her mind moved in straight lines, unconcerned with implication or subtlety. Suppressing a sigh, Ling Han asked directly, "Who is your master?" Only then did she answer. "The deputy head of the Alchemy Institution, Yan Xiaoshuan. Hurry! Don't make my master wait too long." And with that, she began dragging him along without the slightest regard for his willingness. Ling Han felt helpless. Still, she had once helped him. For that alone, he chose not to resist. Thus, he allowed himself to be pulled through the winding paths of the academy. They walked for some time, turning through courtyards and corridors, until at last they arrived at a modest compound. It was not large, but even from a distance, a strange scent drifted through the air. Ling Han's eyes sharpened. The fragrance of herbs. To an alchemist, such a scent was unmistakable. He inhaled lightly, his instincts already dissecting the mixture. Identifying the medicinal components hidden within that aroma, Gu Lingyu led him to the courtyard gates, before they could knock. Creak. The doors opened. A young man stepped out, clad in long robes of pure white. He was extraordinarily handsome, and his garments, immaculate, spotless to an almost unnatural degree. Yet this only deepened the contradiction. This was the Alchemy Institution. Alchemists worked with herbs, flames, furnaces. How could one remain so pristine? "Junior sister Gu." The young man's eyes lit up the moment he saw her. But then, his gaze shifted. He noticed Ling Han, and instantly, a shadow of displeasure darkened his expression. "Junior sister," he said coldly, "why are you dragging him here?" "Oh," Gu Lingyu replied casually, "my master told me to bring him." Her tone was indifferent, completely unaware of the emotions stirring before her. "Master wants to see this brat?" The young man's lips curled in disdain. Their master, deputy head Yan Xiaoshuan, was a 7th-tier alchemist of immense prestige. Countless Sun Moon tier elites would have to wait upon his mood just for a chance to meet him. And now this person? "He is Ling Han," Gu Lingyu declared, understanding dawned. "So you're Ling Han," the man said, his voice laced with mockery. "You've been quite famous lately, haven't you?" Yet instead of softening, his expression grew colder. Ling Han turned slightly toward Gu Lingyu. "Who is he?" he asked plainly. "An idiot?" Gu Lingyu answered without hesitation, completely earnest. "He's my senior brother, Juwuqi. He's not an idiot, he's a genius." For a moment, silence hung in the air. Then, Jiwuqi's face twisted with fury. Bastard! Beneath the vast heavens of the imperial capital, where countless prodigies gathered like stars surrounding the throne of the Empress, a quiet yet sharp confrontation unfolded. One that revealed not blades or fists, but the clash of pride, talent, and unseen power. Ling Han stood calmly, his expression relaxed as a gentle breeze stirred his robes. Before him, Jiwuqi burned with irritation, his temper flaring like a fire fed by dry wood. Yet Ling Han paid him little mind. After all, it had been Jiwuqi who first cast the spark, provoking, ridiculing, and bearing his hostility without restraint. If words were drawn as weapons, then Ling Han had merely returned what was given. And now, things were different. Ling Han was no longer a nameless cultivator wandering the world. He now held an official rank within the Empire. As long as he did not step into treason, even towering figures such as the 7 generals or the left and right ministers could not openly move against him. In this vast and rigid structure of power, his position had become a shield. So why should he endure the noise of a foolish man? Yet Jiwuqi was not one to retreat. His eyes flared with anger as he raised a trembling finger, pointing straight at Ling Han as if accusing a criminal before a tribunal. Brat! What exactly are you trying to say? Ling Han merely shook his head, his tone light yet cutting as a hidden blade. Pointing at others like that? It's quite disrespectful. Don't you understand? Those words struck deeper than any insult. Jiwuqi's face twisted, rage surging within him. You call me an idiot, and still dare speak of respect? He let out a cold snort, his pride swelling as he drew himself up. Don't think you can act arrogantly just because you've gained a bit of fame recently. This is the imperial capital. Beneath the Empress's gaze, there are countless prodigies and supreme elites. Ling Han laughed, openly, freely, as if the words amused him more than they threatened him. Is that so? Then tell me, are you a prodigy or one of those supreme elites? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Jiwuqi's chest swelled with pride. I'm only 30,000 years old, and I've already reached the rank of level 2 alchemist. It won't be long before I break through and become a level 3 alchemist. His voice rang with confidence, his face alight with self-satisfaction. But in Ling Han's mind, silence fell. Is this man serious? He could not help but feel a strange sense of disbelief. He himself had begun from nothing, carving his path step by step, and now he could already refine level 3 divine pills. Though he had only mastered a single type, the rules of the alchemy world were clear. One's rank was determined by the highest tier pill they could refine. That was the universally accepted truth. Yet this man, after 30,000 years of practice, was still at level 2, and only soon to reach level 3. And this is considered talent? Ling Han studied him closely. Jiwuqi did not look like a fool. His posture, his bearing, everything suggested a man of intelligence, which led Ling Han to a startling realization. Then, does this mean my talent in alchemy is truly this extraordinary? The conclusion settled in his mind like a quiet thunder. Meanwhile, Jiwuqi misunderstood Ling Han's silence entirely. Seeing no rebuttal, he assumed victory. A smug smile spread across his face, as if he had already crushed his opponent without lifting a finger. Within the alchemy circles of the Joint Peace Planet, those who reached level 1 before 3,000 years of age were called geniuses. Those who achieved level 2 before 10,000 years were rare talents. And he, Jiwuqi, was on the verge of becoming a level 3 alchemist at merely 30,000 years old. This was no small achievement. On top of that, his cultivation had already reached the high extreme of the mountain river tier. These were the pillars upon which his arrogance stood. So, he continued, his voice dripping with disdain, don't think you're anything special just because of a small accomplishment. Compared to me, you're nothing. At last, Ling Han understood. This was not a man seeking truth or growth. This was a man consumed by his own reflection, unable to tolerate anyone who might outshine him. Ling Han shook his head, no longer interested in continuing such a meaningless exchange. He turned toward Gu Lingyu, his tone returning to calm. Let's not keep your master waiting. Gu Lingyu nodded obediently, her expression bright as she followed. To Jiwuqi, however, this was nothing short of humiliation. Ignored. Completely ignored. His fury nearly burst his chest. He hurried after them, unwilling to let the matter end. Brat! You're only at the medium extreme of the mountain river tier. You should know how rare and expensive alchemical pills are. But if you become my friend, you'll never have to worry about that again." Ling Han chuckled inwardly, his lips curling ever so slightly. "Oh, and how exactly do I become your friend?" The bait had been cast. Jiwuchi took it eagerly. "Ha ha!" he laughed, convinced that Ling Han had finally recognized his superiority. "It's simple. From now on, you call me Big Brother." Then, lowering his voice so only Ling Han could hear, he added with possessive arrogance, "And junior sister Gu belongs to me. Don't even think about getting close to her." The air turned colder. Ling Han's eyes flickered with amusement. "So that's it?" Not only narrow-minded, but jealous as well. He let out a soft chuckle. "A truly talented person doesn't need to boast. You, however, are far from that. Stop embarrassing yourself." Then, with a faint smile, he added the final blow. "And as for Lady Gu, you're not worthy of her." Those words struck like a hammer. "Damn it!" Jiwuchi exploded, his shame transforming instantly into rage. "You dare speak to me like this? Fine, I'll make sure that not a single pharmacy in the imperial capital will sell you any alchemical pills. Not one." Ling Han's expression turned peculiar. Jiwuchi had no idea. He had no idea that the very person he threatened owned a pharmacy himself. "Well, he's not entirely wrong," Ling Han mused inwardly. "If it's my own pharmacy, then technically I'm not buying." "Heh," Ling Han said lightly. "I'm trembling with fear." The mockery was unmistakable. Jiwuchi's face darkened further. Though arrogant, he was not blind. He could see clearly that Ling Han was ridiculing him. "Fine, laugh while you can," he thought coldly. "Once you're wandering the streets with true origin stones in hand and no one willing to sell you a single pill, you'll regret everything." With that, he followed closely behind, a cold smirk lingering on his lips. Meanwhile, Gu Lingyu remained blissfully unaware of the storm brewing between the two. Innocent in worldly matters, she simply led the way with a cheerful demeanor. Before long, they arrived at a quiet, secluded garden. "Master," she called respectfully, "not teacher." "Master. Master." The distinction was profound. Ling Han paused, his gaze sweeping the surroundings. The garden was small, every corner visible at a glance. Yet there was no one there. Before he could speak, a delicate yet sharp voice rang out. "Kid, where are you looking?" Ling Han blinked in surprise and lowered his gaze. And there, on the petal of a flower, sat a tiny figure. A woman, cross-legged, no larger than a thumb. Her entire body measured scarcely an inch in height. Behind her, a pair of nearly transparent wings shimmered faintly, adorned with intricate golden thread-like patterns so fine they seemed woven from light itself. Ling Han's eyes widened. Could this truly be Yan Xiaoshuan, the master of Gu Lingyu, the deputy head of the Alchemy Institution? He could scarcely believe it. "Senior, you are?" Before he could finish, Yan Xiaoshuan frowned slightly. "What, looking down on me because I'm small?" In an instant, a terrifying aura surged forth, vast and oppressive, like a blazing sun rising in the heavens. A sun-moon tier, elite. Though she did not summon her sun or moon, the sheer pressure made it impossible to doubt. Ling Han immediately bowed slightly. "I wouldn't dare. I'm simply surprised." He spoke honestly. Before such a figure, deception was meaningless. Yan Xiaoshuan burst into laughter, her voice clear and lively. "I'm half human, half dream spirit tribe. Half humans, beings born from the union of humans and shape-shifting demonic beasts. They carried the blood of both worlds, inheriting strengths and unique traits that often surpassed their origins." Ling Han bowed respectfully. "Ling Han greets Senior Yan." This was respect given to true power. Yan Xiaoshuan accepted with ease, then waved her hand dismissively. "No need for formalities. I called you here for one reason." Her gaze sharpened slightly. "Do you want to join our alchemy institution?" At those words, Jiwuchi choked, literally choked. His entire mind went blank. What did I just hear? The Alchemy Institution, an existence above even the 4 great academies, had personally summoned Ling Han and was asking him to join? This was absurd. If the Alchemy Institution wanted disciples, they only needed to make a single announcement. Countless geniuses would flood in, begging chance. Alchemy was a transcendent path. An alchemist's status stood above cultivators of the same level. This was an undeniable truth acknowledged across the world. It was precisely because of this that Jiwuchi had always held his head high, basking in pride. But now, everything he believed was shaken. The Alchemy Institution was notoriously strict in its recruitment. Compared to it, the four major institutions seemed almost lenient. Every 20 years, the four academies might accept hundreds of students, but the Alchemy Institution? If they recruited even one student in 100 years, it was considered good, because each disciple was not just a student, but a successor, a true master-disciple bond. And thus, the great alchemists chose carefully. They would rather have no disciple at all than accept one lacking talent or virtue. So then, since when had the Alchemy Institution become so eager, so direct, so unreserved? Jiwuchi stood frozen, his pride crumbling like sand beneath a rising tide. And before him, Ling Han, calm as ever, stood at the center of a storm he had not even intended to create. The winds of fate had already begun to shift.